Hello everyone. I will give you a report today. My topic is construction-related professional laws, mainly include Act 117, Act 138, and Act 538. My presentation today is mainly divided into four general parts and one attached page part. The first part is introduction. Introduction will conclude five small parts: name, history, content, impact, and attributes. The second part is regulation. Regulation, we will talk about who regulates the act and how to regulate the act. The third part is case study. Case study consists of two parts: framework and some conclusion. The last part is relevant legal framework in China. We will talk about the legislature, relevant act, similarities, and difference. The first part is introduction. We will know the name of the act first. As we all know, Malaysia's special demand for landscape design talents has spawned many laws regulating architecture design talents. Among them, there are typical laws on urban planning, the registration of architecture talents, and the employment of architects. The first Act 117, we can call it Architects Act 1967, and the second one, Act 138, is Registration of Engineers Act 1967, and the last one, Act 538, we can call it Town Planners Act 1995. So next, we will know the history of the act. History is mainly talk about the first time and the revised time. The first one, Architecture Act, which was first promulgated in 1967, was revised 80 times in the past 40 years, from its promulgation to 2002. And the second one, Registration of Engineers Act, which was first promulgated in 1967, was revised six times in the past 40 years, from its promulgation to 2002. And the last one, Town Planners Act, which was first modified in 1995, which has not been amended to date. Next is content of the act. Malaysia's related professional laws are mainly accompanied by the increasing demand for national construction, which gives birth to construction-related laws. The main contents include the norms and the standards of architecture design, the qualification norms, and the laws of employees. The first 117, the act consists of 6 parts, including the registration of architects, the establishment of the architects committees, and so on. The second one is Act 138. The act consists of 5 parts, including the registration of the engineers, the establishment of engineers committees, and so on. The last one, Act 538. The act consists of 5 parts, including the registration, the establishment of town planners committees, and some others. When we learn the history contained, we should know the impact of the act too. As for Act 117, the act has a long history, meets the demand, meets the needs of architect professional in Malaysia, regulates the qualification of architect professionals, and contributes to the development of construction industry in Malaysia. Second, the second act, 138, the act has a long history too, and was enacted in the same years as Architect Act, which has also produced a long-term normative effect on the construction industry in Malaysia. The last one, the act was promulgated in 1995, which is the product of Malaysia's gradual urbanization and promotes the urbanization process in Malaysia to a certain extent. So next is attributes of the act. As for the Act 117, it's an act to provide for the registration of architects, soil proprietorships, partnerships, and bodies corporate providing architecture consultancy service, and the building transman and matters connected therewith. The second one, Act 138, it is an act to provide for the registration of engineers and soil proprietorships and partnership and bodies corporate uh, providing professional engineering service and for purpose connected with. Last one, Act 538. It is an act to provide for the registration of town planners and for purpose connected therewith. It is enacted by the Sri Pentaka Baginda Yandi Potong, along with the advice and consent of the Dewan Negara and Dewan Rakyat in Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same. So next is regulation. Regulation, we will talk about who regulated the act and how to regulate the act. As for the Act 117, this act may be cited as the Architects Act 1967. This act shall come into force on such date as the minister may be notification in a gazette appoint. The minister may be notification in a gazette suspend the operation of this act in any part of Malaysia. Next one is Act 138. This act may be cited as the Registration of Engineers Act 1967. The minister may be notification in a gazette to suspend the operation of this act in any part of Malaysia. And the last one is Act 538. This act may be cited as the Town Planners Act 1995 and shall come into force on January 1st, 1996. The minister may be notification in a gazette to suspend the operation of the act in any part of Malaysia. So we can know the main regulated person is the minister in Malaysia. And the second about how to regulate the act. As for the first one, uh, establishment of board of architects to enforce the act. So we can know the main regulate ways is to establish a board of architects which shall be a body corporate with perpetual succession and commercial and which may sue and be sued. So one, two is the detail regulate with. You can check with. The board shall consist of the following members who shall be Malaysian citizens and who are appointed by the minister. A president who shall be appointed from among professional architects. So you can check this in the content of the act. The second one, Act 138, is same as the last act. First, establish a board of engineers to enforce the port, to be called Board of Engineers, which shall be a body corporate with a perpetual succession and a commercial, and which may sue and be sued. The board shall consist of the following members who shall be Malaysian citizens and who are appointed by the minister. Generally, to do all such acts matters and things as are necessary to carry out the provisions of this act. The last one is Act 538. First, establish the board to enforce the act. So the name is Board of Town Planners. The board may, with the proposal of the minister, make rules which shall be published in the Gazette generally as may be necessary and expedient. For the purpose of carrying out or giving effect to this act, and for prescribing anything required by this act to be prescribed. So the third part is case study. Case study, we will talk about the framework and some conclusions from the case study. First, we will learn the Malaysia government structure and the legislature. First is president. President is responsible for Congress, cabinet, and courts. Congress is responsible for legislature, and cabinet is administration, and courts is judicial. And then legislature consists of two parts: House of Lords and House of Commons. So as for the case study, Act 117, there is a typical case: the architect's responsibility for the collapse of high-rise buildings. So when have some accident of the buildings, first the architects will report to the architecture committee. Then investigate the architecture reason for the accident of the high-rise buildings, and then evaluate the corresponding professional knowledge of architects, then punish architects and their companies. Last is architects' peers. So the punish for the architect is very important. So uh, there is the detailed punishment. First, the issuance of a writing reprimand. Two, the imposition of a fine not exceeding to 10,000 ringgit or and the suspension of the registration for patrols not exceeding 1 year of the cancellation of the registration of any combination of sanctions uh, set out in paragraphs to A to D. The main basis for the authority is section 15 of part 5 of the Act. So you can check the detailed punishment in the content of the Act 117. You can get a clear situation of of the accident, like causes of high-rise buildings. So the next one is case study of 138. 138, the uh, typical case is application procedures for engineer registration. First, you want to get a engineer registration. You should uh, submit a writing application for registration. And then the committee conducts the qualification checks. Then the committee organizes the professional examinations. The last is the committee qualifies and supervises registered engineers. This is the detailed act you will make, and when you get engineer registration, uh, you need to suffer. You need to suffer a uh, long journey. Yeah. So as for the Act 538, the typical case is rights and limitations of town planners. We can get the right when you are town planners, you can get the rights the actor give you, and same time you can you can get some limitation in the town plan works. So left is rights and the right is uh, limitation. So all the contents about rights and limitation you can check in Act 538. So according to the case study, we have some conclusion here. As for 117 Act, the relevant occup occupational laws of architecture designers has been improved, and the registration conditions, relevant norms, and polishment measures of architecture designers has been clarified. is for 138 Act. It has satisfied the blank of relevant law for engineers in Malaysia. Standard relevant registration standard and formulate relevant policies, making contributions to the standard development of the domestic engineering industry. As for the 538 Act, the Town Planners Act, which regulates the talents involved in town planning, emerged with the continuous advancement of urbanization in Malaysia. So the last part is relevant legal framework in China. Uh, we will talk about the legislature, relevant act, and the similarities and the differences. So this is the relevant legal framework in China. Central People's Government and National People's Congress, State Council, uh, People's Court. National People's Congress represent the legislature. State Council represent executive. People's Court represent judiciary. So next, we should talk about the relevant act, just like Act 117, Act 138, and Act 538 in China. The first one is Construction Law of People's Republic of China. And the next one is Land Administration Law of the People's Republic of China. This is some regulations of the act. The first one, regulations of quality management of the construction projects. Regulations of safety, production management of construction projects. Regulation on the administration of survey and design of construction projects. And measures for quality warranty of housing construction project. Next, regulation of the People's Republic of China on the implementation of land administration law. And next is land survey ordinance and royal land contract law regulations on the protection of basic farmland. So when we learn the specific act in China, we should find similarities and difference in China and Malaysia. Firstly, similarities. Similarities. Both China and Malaysia have independent legislative and administrative bodies. Both China and Malaysia pay attention to the perfection of laws on land, urban construction, and engineering. So next one is difference. Difference. China's land personal trailing regulations are relatively independent of the law, not in the form of direct legislation, while Malaysia is in the form of direct legislation. So this is the attachment. You can check the aspects in the website or in my presentation content. This concludes the content of the ASLIC uh, and some history. So this is just some small content for you guys to check. So my presentation is over. So thank you all of you guys. Thank you.